GoMRI projects have focused on the northern Gulf of Mexico. We will be adding and contributing to GoMRI's legacy with a new project that will give a comprehensive study of ocean processes in the southern Gulf of Mexico, and specifically at the intersection between Florida, Cuba, and Mexico waters. This area covers one of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the world and is also an area of potential oil exploration or a potential spill from a transit tanker. But it has not received so much attention to date. One of the reasons is that data in Cuban waters have not been widely available. So we plan to change that by preparing the tools that are needed to understand the complexities of such a problem and provide reliable statistics to the coastal communities and response managers so they are ready in the case of an undesirable but potential disaster, which could be either in the southern Gulf or oil can come from the northern Gulf, as we know with the currents. We have already identified some unique ocean features near Cuba and in the Straits of Florida. And we have found that they influence actually the loop current and Florida current changes, which happen all the time. Well, these are the branches of the Gulf Stream in the Gulf of Mexico, and they transport material from one place of the Gulf to the other. And material can be fish larvae, it can be nutrients, but also pollutants like oil. So these features we have identified recirculate water and materials in the clockwise direction. In oceanography, we call that anticyclonic. And because they are near Cuba, we have given them a name. We named them CubANs, for Cuba anticyclone, CubAN. And we found that they are very important to these changes, and understanding them does not give us information locally, but potential for the whole Gulf of Mexico and also for the Gulf Stream as a whole, which, as you know, is one of the best known and important systems of ocean currents in the world. And we already know, for instance, in the Straits of Florida, the Florida current does not shoot straight through, but it meanders. Sometimes it's closer to Florida, sometimes it's closer to Cuba. These changes are partially influenced by these, we call them eddies, these recirculating features. So it is very important to understand them. And also, we are combining data. We actually already have data in Cuban waters, which is unique, with our models, computer models, that can predict many days ahead. So putting this new information in the models, we can make them more accurate for the predictions they have in the entire Gulf of Mexico. Well, as I mentioned, this is part of the Gulf Stream, which is a very big deal. And it is so well known that not only scientists and managers, but even the general public has a big interest in new information for the Gulf Stream. So it is exciting that we'll be studying in the southern Gulf, but the repercussions are global. And as I mentioned, this new information, it is very important for the predictive models and to predict where the ocean currents, the major currents are and how they change is crucial for navigation, for fisheries management, for search and rescue, and for response operations in case of a spill, for instance. In case of any oil spill, the big question is, where does the oil go, right? Hey. So any piece of information that adds to that, to answer that question, is of huge importance. And the models we have created, that is for circulation and also for oil spill, and with previous GoMRI projects, we have really improved these models. For instance, we're measuring the thickness of oil, and we then put this parameter in the model for more accuracy. We will be using those and improving them through this new study. So this will be an important tool for future response. The oceans have no boundaries. They do not understand countries. In the Gulf of Mexico, we have waters of the US, of Mexico, and Cuba. We really need to put all that together to really solve the puzzle that it is how you manage your ocean resources, which is important for the health of the Gulf. It's important for the health of and the well-being of the people that live around. So that is my one message, that we really have to view this internationally. And the other message is that it is very important to have collaborations with the best experts that can be from the Gulf or can be even from countries outside the Gulf. For instance, one of our partners is the Meteorological Office of Norway. In Norway, they have a lot of experience dealing with oil exploration and the science that is needed behind it. So collaborations internationally are very crucial for the advancement of science.